Despite all odds, we made it. What a most appropriate theme to encapsulate the end of your very novel primary school years. And I say novel because there is no one alive who can relate to the experiences you've had due to the accumulated stress of SEA, combined with a global pandemic and prolonged suspended examination dates. When history is written, I hope the authors spare a chapter for the students of academia, yourselves included, and others around the world, who despite the unique odds of 2020 thus far, can all now say, we've made it too. Against this backdrop, I offer to each and every graduand of the TML Primary School San Fernando class of 2020 a hearty, sincere, and respectful congratulations. And yet, with my very next breath, I say that your success does not belong to you. See, your theme is correct. Despite all odds, we made it. You may have achieved a particular result, but this was only possible through the efforts of the collective, through the efforts of everyone else working with common purpose to support you in this regard. Graduates, I ask, could you have done this without the support of your parents, who toiled tirelessly to provide for you, to comfort you, to make you comfortable, to lift you up, to love you? Some of whom stayed up late hours with you to either help you directly, maybe just keep you company, or ensure that you were well fed when the munchies hit at hours past dinner or before breakfast. Some of you were fortunate to have siblings and extended families, including grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles, who would have all played varying roles in your growth and your journey. Graduates, I ask, could you have done this without the dedication of your teachers, who developed unique ways to teach you and to reach you, whose own family time would have been sacrificed as they prepared for the demands of the next teaching day? And when the pandemic hit, they themselves were learning new technologies by night so they could feed your minds by day. Graduates, could you have done this without the support of your school, whose principal and all other staff would have spent years carving out a school culture that was most appropriate and conducive to not just education, but to excellence? The list, I'm sure, can go on. The point, however, is simple and is reflected in the South African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Locally, we say it takes a community to raise a child, and that still applies. It's just that the community is no longer comprised of geographical neighbors necessarily, but of the communities within which we belong and those with whom we interact. Therefore, you are also here today as a product of your church, mosque, or temple, scout and youth groups, musical, swim, and sport classes, etc. It is not by any means an attempt to take away from your accolades or to discredit your work when we say that your success does not belong to you. It is simply to ask that in your time of victory, you remain humble and grateful, knowing all who have contributed to this moment. Let's talk about the odds now, namely COVID-19 and the pandemonium it has caused, but the blessings it has also brought. Adversity, resilience, teamwork. COVID-19 was the wake-up call that the world needed, but it may have also been the reality check some of us needed too. COVID forced us to relinquish fascinations and imaginations of fairy tale lives or of perfectly mapped out life plans that do not take adversity and detours into account. Chances are, your parents and others would have shielded you from anything and everything they deemed negative, difficult, or potentially harmful, and this is commendable. However, some of you may have never been allowed to experience any trials or face any hardship, even consequences that you may have rightfully deserved from improper action on your part would have been deflected by well-meaning parents. Yet, COVID has taught us that no one can run from adversity forever. And no matter your rank, profession, wealth, age, or even innocence, the best preparation is expectation. Expect adversity. Expect curveballs. Expect plans to be derailed. And whenever you doubt that you could face the challenges, remind yourself that you are the generation that survived and succeeded despite a global pandemic. Everything else should be a walk in the park compared to this. Resilience is what you have now after all of those hardships that you have survived. What no one is telling you, but what I will today, is that resilience will be the currency of the future. The world is changing rapidly, and only the resilient will be able to adapt and thrive. Additionally, you will face issues that we, the generations before you, either never imagined or quite probably caused in the first place. Issues like irreversible climate change and extreme weather patterns, artificial intelligence, increased threats of health pandemics and world war dynamics. Another unfortunately long list. Resilience, tenacity, and perseverance, built now, will be some of the greatest assets you'll hold in future. And we must thank COVID for the jumpstart to our bank accounts in this regard. Finally, COVID has shown us just how interconnected we are to each other, to all other people on the planet, and to our environment. Thus, teamwork has never been of more paramount importance because, like COVID, it will take a collective effort to rise above most challenges. I've already belabored the point of how many teams were operating in the background to support you in your SEA preparation. Likewise, I want you to know that you will only ever be as successful as the teams that you are a part of: family, circle of friends, communities, and organizations. If you can shift your thinking from the belief that you can do it alone and realize your interconnectedness with your teams, you will begin at an earlier age to start building better teams and to yourself become a better team player. The world's problems will require teamwork to fix. Relationships will require teamwork between partners. Employers aren't looking for stars, but team players. Remember, even the great Messi couldn't win it alone. So, build your empires from now by building your teams from now. And come what may in future, you and your team will again, like today, be able to say, despite the odds, we made it. Congratulations, class of 2020. From your host of Morning Inspiration on radio and Trini Inspiration on YouTube and Facebook.